Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shark in the gun, got the knowledge for the college. Football show breaks down the odds like scholars. 3-unit bangers, stacking cheddar like flowers. Ride the wave to fame, flex in the midnight hours. 9 words of lifestyle, spitting flames, no pity. Dominate the board like kings, ruling the city. Sports, gamble, and hustle. Money moves so gritty, cashing tickets every Friday. Life looking pretty, ride the wave. Feel the rush, hit the dame. Shark in the gun, setting fire to the name. 3-unit banging, stacking chips, no shame. Friday night sports kings claiming that fame. Analyze stats, break bread, no sweat. 3-point spreads, risk life, major bet. Cash in pockets, feel.
On a suddenly not so casual Friday in November, it is CFB Knowledge for College, Week 11, the Shark and the Gun. It is Friday, November 8th, 2024, right here live on Sharky Waters Nation, X and YouTube. I think we're having some difficulties on X. I see the link is not super live as we speak. I've been having difficulties all day. We will get this show to you guys as soon as possible. Come on over to the chat. Join the GunzPicks channel as well on YouTube, and let's dominate. GunzPicks, what's going on this beautiful Friday night in November?
Yeah, I just saw that the link isn't working on this one. That's what you get for StreamYard. But we got our guy Bruno that's in the building on YouTube, checking us out there from another country, another continent. And we are live here to talk a little college football, baby. We're week 11. This season is going way too fast. So make sure you get over to YouTube if you want to get into the chat and talk to the boys and let us know what you guys are on or what kind of lifestyle do you have on this Friday night. We got a full slate, 6 plays on my side. Sharks got a bunch as well, so let's get to it. We got a good one for Friday right now.
Speaking of Friday night, Fridays are for freedom. We're going to the Gun for a late night special here, 9 o'clock in Memphis. I was going to say big time football, not so big time, but we can make any game big time with a great sports bet. Throw it to the Gun, ESPN2, 9 o'clock here. Rice at Memphis. Rice catching 7.5 points, the first official of Week 11.
Yeah, if you click the link on, if you watch it on Twitter, click the link. It does work. You can get into the thing. So, but let's talk about this game right now. Rice versus Memphis in Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee. 9 p.m. is the kick, and it's tonight. So get on this play right now. And we have Memphis at 7-2 on the year, an awful loss to UTSA, plus 11-point differential, plus 87 net yard average, and they're going up against a Rice team that is 3-6 on the year. An awful win versus Navy. They only have a -1 point differential and a plus 14 net yard average. Now, Memphis' strength is their offense, especially passing the ball. They're ranked 20th in pass play percentage, 39th in pass completion percentage, 9th in pass attempts per game, and they're 21st in passing yards per game. This is a team that is very pass heavy, but they're going up against a Rice defense that keeps them engaged in games, especially defending the pass. They're 12th in opposing pass play percentage, opponent pass play percentage, 11th in pass completion percentage, 173 yards per game, 10th in QB sack percentage. So they get to the quarterback and put pressure. The Rice defense holds conference opponents to 77 yards below their season average and 110 yards below their opponent's season average in the last 4 games. So this is a team that steps up, and really teams regress when they play this defense. Then you have Rice, the pass first offense completely. They're ranked 2nd in opposing pass play percentage, 69th in passing yards per game. Their O-line is ranked 17th in opposing QB sack percentage as well, so they can protect the quarterback in the passing game. But Memphis' defense is weak sauce, and then I mean weak in the passing game. They're ranked 123rd in opposing pass play percentage, 100 in opposing passing yards per play. So this Rice team is going to be able to move the ball here against Memphis. Memphis in the last 5 games have either won or lost by a possession, excluding the Tulane game where they lost by 14. But they were -5 point turnover ratio in that game. So that a lot of that had to do with the turnover problem in that particular game, and they only lost by 14. Then you got to look at Memphis, 2-6-1 ATS. It's a home favorite, 4-9 ATS versus conference opponents, and they're going against a Rice team that is 8-4-1 ATS versus conference opponents. I think Memphis plays to the level of their competition, basically going up against a Rice team that is every time consistent, keeping this game close, especially within a possession, and you can get it over possession right now at plus 7.5. I got plus 9.5 early. I released it to clients on Tuesday. Now the line's dropped in my favor. I love it. Still grab it above the possession. Give me Rice plus 7.5 as the play.
My first play, Saturday, it will be tomorrow. We're going to UConn on the road in Birmingham, Alabama. And truthfully, I was going to say old reliable. Incredible stuff from UConn in recent history. This is a team that has been an FBS bottom feeder for literally the entire duration of their program. And now they're sitting here at 5-3-1 ATS and 6-3 straight up. And this is a bye team, and I think even more importantly, on the road. And that might sound a little counterintuitive, but UConn just played 6 consecutive home games. And they actually seem to become a little ATS complacent at home in the back half of that extended window. Non-covers against Temple, a non-cover last week against Georgia State, non-cover against Wake Forest. So I actually think the ATS efficiency is going to pick back up on the road. And I think specifically with sophomore quarterback Nick Evers, as I said, UConn's played 6 consecutive home games. So they've only played 2 games on the road this year. They are 0-1 with the previous quarterback, senior Joe Fagnano. But the only time Nick Evers was on the road this year, it was week 3 at Duke, 26-21 loss as a significant underdog. And UConn was actually up in the fourth quarter, 21-17. So great functionality there. And speaking on UAB, the opponent here, this is a sell zone for UAB. UAB, when they entered FBS football back in 2017, immediately went on an extended run of success, 47-22 straight up from 2017 until the middle of 2022. Really impressive. 9-18 straight up since. This season, 2-6 straight up. Actually, 4-4 ATS, which I think makes this even better of a sell point. Coming off of back-to-back covers. Did cover a road game at USF, plus 14.5, and did win outright last week, 59-21 against Tulsa. Key point there in terms of their home functionality versus the line. UAB is 2-0 as a home favorite. They are 0-2 as a home dog, which of course they are here in week 11. Outright losses by an average of 37 points per game. This is where you want to buy UConn on the road. This is the heaviest road line UConn has laid, maybe in program history, as far as I know. This is incredibly strong stuff. Love UConn at -7, 2:30 p.m. in Birmingham. Speaking of that portion of the country, we're going Sun Belt football. We're going to the gun, 12 noon, Louisiana Monroe. Been a team we bought on this show week after week. We did lose 2 weeks ago. They covered last week against Marshall. Now they come home in a big-time game against Texas State, catching a heavy figure here at plus 8.5. Sharp steam on it. GunzPicks, ULM, plus 8.5.
Yeah, I love this play here. Texas State versus UL Monroe in Monroe, Louisiana at Malone Stadium. You got Texas State, though, coming off back-to-back losses, 4-4 in the year with a plus 10-point differential, plus 98 net yard average. A little bit of a disappointing year from the Texas State. But ULM, they're coming off back-to-back road losses as well after starting the year 5-1. They're 5-3 on the year now with a -2-point differential and -62 net yard average. And what does ULM love to do? They love to run the ball. They're 5th in rush play percentage in the country, 4.6 yards per carry, 177 rush yards per game. However, this ULM team has really stepped up the run game in the last 4 games, putting up 5.3 yards per carry and 208 rushing yards per game. So they're already on the upward movement with the rushing game. And they're going against a Texas State team that, quite frankly, has struggled stopping the run. In their last 5 games, they've given up over 5 yards per carry in 4 out of the last 5. And then you have Texas State, good offense on both sides of the ball with the pass and the run. The Texas offense puts out 405 yards of total offense a game and 265 yards yards through the air. And they also have a 68.9% pass completion rate. So that is impressive stuff there for Texas State. But ULM, what can they do well? They have a very good pass defense. They're ranked 4th in opposing pass completion percentage, 29th in opposing pass yards per play, and 16th in opposing pass yards per game. So this team can defend against the pass. And then ULM has dominated at home this season. If you want to take ULM, you take them at home. You fade them on the road. They're 4-0 straight up in ATS at home this season with a plus 15-point differential, plus 8 net yard average. And Texas State on the road, only 2 true road games for Texas State this season. 1-1 straight up in ATS with a plus 3-point differential, plus 66 net yard average. And also the revenge factor plays into this game. ULM lost to Texas State by 1 point, 21-20 last year, and they were a 17.5-point road dog, and now they're a short dog here at home. I just like ULM because they play their best at home. They're going against a Texas State team that really just plays to the level of their competition, especially on the road. And then you got the revenge angle, the line functionality, and everything in between. Give me ULM plus 8.5 as the play.
Completely agreed. Love the coach down there. I was detailing this a couple weeks ago when I took ULM. This guy didn't even play high school football. He is literally in love with the game of football. If you don't even play high school football, you play baseball, and you decide, you know what, I love football that much, I want to be a coach as a high school kid. I mean, I don't know any high school kids that even love to play the sport that much, let alone coach it. So this guy is an absolute gamer from a coaching perspective. I don't even think I've ever said that on this broadcast. A gamer from a coaching perspective. The guy loves ball. So you want to buy ULM at home in this spot. The gun unofficially plus 8.5. Our first collaboration of this Week 11 broadcast. We're going 12 o'clock. We're going to Cincinnati, Ohio, Nippert Stadium, and taking the upstart Bearcats at minus 3.5 this afternoon. That is minus 4.5 now. And for anybody that's been following Cincinnati this season, this really is the polar opposite of last season. This team is upstart. They are young. They are well coached, and they are continued by market. 6-2 ATS on this campaign, and a nice situational buy low. They did lose their most recent game in Week 9, October the 26th at Colorado as a road dog, 34-23. Nice little buy low here off a bye week last week. Come home here refreshed. Cincinnati is 3-0 ATS and straight up this year off a prior outright loss. So they are a bounce-back team. And I actually found this to be particularly interesting. They actually had a prior bye week in Week 6. So 2 bye weeks for this team. They did lose Week 5 at Texas Tech, 44-41, had a bye week, and then came home, or stayed on the road, and hammered UCF in a revenge game. Very similar spot here. This is a revenge game versus West Virginia. West Virginia hammered Cincinnati at home last year in West Virginia, 42-21. Key point on the line, -5. That was Garrett Green starting. This is actually going to be backup quarterback Nico Marchiol, who I think is an absolute sell point here. He just played a great game against Arizona last week. Key point here, we loved Arizona last year. We don't love them this year. Arizona is 1-6 ATS last 7, total crater zone. So don't be fooled by this backup quarterback's efficiency last week. This line is heavy. This is revenge. This is buy low. It's a great Cincinnati spot. I have Cincinnati to win this game by 11 points, 12 noon. GunzPicks, a collaboration. Talk to me.
Yeah, you basically said everything in my notes here, but the Cincinnati team, what do? They play well at home, 3-1 straight up, 2-2 ATS this season, but they have a plus 15-point differential, plus 88 net yard average at home. And you said it, the quarterback change is a little detriment for them. Garrett Green not going to be playing this game. Nico Marchiol is going to have the start here. Yes. And you got to look at the statistics, and he was productive for them last week. But like Shark said, this was against an Arizona team that is not the 2023 Arizona team of last year. This team has kind of been shelled. The coaches changed. No Jed Fish anymore. So take that with a little bit of grain of salt. And yeah, I love this because of the revenge factor. They were 5.5-point road dogs last season. They lost 42-21 to West Virginia. And now they're sitting here as a 4.5, 5-point favorite the next season. I mean, this Cincinnati team should be fired up at home off a loss versus a West Virginia team without their starting quarterback, and Cincinnati has the revenge. It's simple as that. We're going to be on Cincinnati. Shark got the better number. He got 3.5. I got 4.5 on this one, and you can get 4.5 right now. So go grab it. Yes, just like Shark alluded to, I think this is anywhere between a 7 to 10 point win, and that is enough for me when you have -4.5. So give me the Bearcats -4.5 as the play.
When Gunz says 7 to 10, and I say 11. Go to 7-Eleven, buy some beers, dominate this game, and let's go. Going to 3:30, San Jose State traveling up to Corvallis. This is really a unique environment this season for Oregon State. This is an Oregon State that has been an impossible out in Pac-12 football for years. Brutal travel for the road team. Not this year. Lost DJ Uiagalelei, who has not transferred very well to Florida State. They don't have their team from last year. The coach seems to be in shambles. And San Jose State is an upstart team to the max. Listen to the line on this one. Why is San Jose State only plus 3.5 in Corvallis? GunzPicks has an answer and an official.
I do want to get it. But first, let me shout out the chat. Of course, Bruno says, I already got a beer right now. This dude is already hammer fisting booze out there on the, and not even in the grand old US of A. So maybe he's on some bases out there. I don't even know what to call it down there in Portugal. I probably got that wrong. But then you got a RL saying, what's up, Guns and Shark? And of course, Raquel joining us. Hey guys, positive vibe here. Get into the chat. I'll call you everybody out. But let's talk about the San Jose State and Oregon State Riser Stadium in Corvallis. And like Shark said, this is not your father's Oregon State team. Jonathan Smith packed up and left and went to Michigan State. Now, new regime reset button here for an Oregon State team that has lost 3 straight and off a bye. 4-3 on the year with a -2 point differential and plus 17 net yard average. San Jose State off a road loss to Fresno State and a bye. 5-3 on the year with a +3 point differential, plus 46 net yard average. And when you look at San Jose State's strength for the last 5 games is their offense. They've been putting up numbers. 443 yards of total offense, 5.5 yards per carry in the ground game, and 320 passing yards per game. On the other side there for Oregon State, defense has given up 6 yards per carry in the ground game and 210 passing yards per game, but has given up 306 passing yards to Oregon, 263 passing yards to Colorado State, 364 passing yards to Cal in the previous game. And what I'm trying to tell you is when they have to play a pass-oriented offense like San Jose State is, they start to regress and you see the numbers tick up in the passing game. And then you got to look at these teams. Met last season. Oregon State beat them 42-17. And San Jose State was 16.5-point road dogs in that situation. And then you see the line shift, go to 3.5. I think there's 3s on the board currently. This is a perfect spot to be taking San Jose State. They're 5-2-1 ATS as an away dog, 6-2 ATS versus non-conference opponents. San Jose State should be ready for this one. They have revenge on their mind. The line functionality from 2023 and now. Just take the San Jose State here, folks. Give it to me at +3.5 as the play.
Next play, big time football, 3:30 in Oxford, Mississippi. We are taking Ole Miss at +3 for 1 unit, and the gun aligns with the first half. I will jump into the game take. This is an absolute must-win for Ole Miss. If they lose, the college football expanded playoff is probably out of their sights. So you're getting a Game 7 environment for Ole Miss in Week 11. And I think you get a nice little buy low. Ole Miss is only 2-3 ATS in SEC conference play. Key point, though, their outright losses, both by only a field goal. So this team either wins or loses real tight. And they're also 0-2 ATS at home in conference this year. But I think this is a pretty unique spot. They lost to Kentucky. It was their first conference game of the year. Kentucky, as you guys know, is very much a zigzag, kind of very difficult to predict type of team. Kentucky played a great road game. Let that be what it is. Their only other home game in conference was against Oklahoma. And for those of you guys that are learning with us as we go, Oklahoma is not your typical SEC team, brand new. So it's hard to even call them really an SEC opponent this year. There's really no rivalry or prerequisite data there. So this is really the first true big-time home game in conference of the entire season. So I think you're going to get a buy low. I think you can throw everything you've seen out before this. And I think this cap gains even more strength looking at Georgia. People really are in love with Georgia. I understand. It's Kirby Smart. It's a national championship team. They've looked excellent for the last 5 to 7 years. I get it. But if you really hone in on Georgia this year, Georgia's 1-4 ATS in SEC play. They're 0-2 ATS conference road versus OG SEC teams. I'm going to clarify that again. They did hammer Texas on the road. Texas just joined the conference. We're not going to give them credit for an OG SEC win there. So OG SEC played down to the aforementioned Kentucky 13-12 win as a significant favorite, minus 21.5. Completely played it down against the spread there. And of course, week 5, a loss at Alabama. And this is a significant revenge matchup. Ole Miss and Georgia don't play every year. They did play last year, however, and Georgia hammered them at home, 52-17. Key point here on the line, Georgia heavy home favorite, minus 11.5. This opened at 2 on the road, suggesting Ole Miss to win by 5. And final point on this, if you go back to that Georgia team last year, go to the box score. It was Carson Beck, but all of his weapons in the game, for the most part, are no longer on the team. That 52-point accumulation against Ole Miss last year was Kendall Minton, running back for the Bengals, Dajuan Edwards, NFL practice squad, Andrew Paul, transfer to Jacksonville State, Ladd McConkey, wide receiver for the Chargers, Brock Bowers, tight end for Vegas, and Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint, wide receiver Eagles. Point is, it's Beck without almost all of his weapons, and that's why this team has not been impressive in SEC play all year. They haven't been impressive against even bottom feeders like Mississippi State, only beating them by 10 at home. I think Ole Miss stands up, gets their first home cover in conference of the year. Ole Miss to win by 5, an official. GunzPicks, first half. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think if Ole Miss is going to be taking this game out, which I agree with Shark on this one, I think it's going to be in the first half because that is their strong suit. When you look at Ole Miss, second in the country in first half, outscoring opponents 24-8 on average with a plus 16.6 point differential. On the other side, though, Georgia, slow starters. Even though they're ranked 13th in the country in the first half, outscoring opponents 12-7, that is only a plus 5.3 point differential. And then you got to look at UGA on the road in the first half. They've actually been outscored 9-10 on average. That's a minus 1 point differential in the first half. So when we look at these two teams matched up, Ole Miss can make the stops on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's vulnerability with the UGA side, especially in the passing game, which is what Ole Miss loves to do. They have that air raid style offense that Lane Kiffin brings to the table. This is a team on the defensive side of the ball for UGA. It's not the same. They're 53rd in opposing passing yards per game, 51st in opposing red zone scoring percentage. So you're looking at a defense that is like regressing. This is not an SEC defense. And you got a team that is just going to put their foot on the gas pedal early and often. And then maybe UGA, if they're getting behind, we could see them try to sneak back in this one. But you know what? I think this is going to be an Ole Miss time for Lane Kiffin to make a run here in Oxford. Give me Ole Miss. Money line plus 105, first half as the play.
Incredibly sharp take. I think this is where, if you look at what I was saying about Georgia and some of these road games, they've come out very poorly. If you guys remember, they were down huge at Alabama before making a late push. And then, of course, Alabama winning late. This is not where they perform well at all. And my next play, taking NC State at home at 3:30 in conference play, in-state rivalry, -3 against Duke. And this is just a great buy low on NC State. NC State is 5-4 straight up, but they are 2-7 ATS. This team started 0-7 ATS, which is actually hard to do. They are 2-0 ATS since. So they definitely bottomed out, and now they're climbing the ranks here. They also started 0-5 ATS at home and did cover finally last week. But I think those non-covers actually do have a story behind them. 3 of the non-covers were actually outright margin wins against Western Carolina, La Tech, and Northern Illinois. They just didn't cover big spreads. And then they lost the game against Syracuse, which was their only home underdog spot of the year, which means books liked Syracuse there, so it wasn't a misguided result. The only game they were favored at home this year in this type of environment against Wake Forest, they actually dominated Wake, 28 first downs to 21, and just made a couple mistakes to give the game away late in the fourth quarter and not cover. The point here is this is a great buy low team. And you look at Duke. Guns has been on here actually when I was on Duke saying he didn't like Duke because of the coordinator and the head coach from Penn State, I believe. But if you look at what Duke is doing here, Duke is 2-0 ATS on the road, non-conference. They're 0-2 ATS on the road in conference, both as a dog. Took a 10-point loss at G Tech, and last week lost by 22, 53-31 at Miami. And I think a really key point there, this is a road back-to-back sequence for Duke. They actually came out and played a very good game at Miami last week. Miami turned it up super late, like you've seen Cam Ward do this year numerous times. Duke played a very above average football game for about 45 to 50 minutes last week. They left everything they had on the table. Now they got to stay on the road, play NC State in conference, in-state rivalry, buy low NC State, and it's a revenge game. Duke hammered NC State last year at home, 24-3 as a favorite. Now a dog. This is a margin line for NC State. And final point on that game, 24-3 Duke. NC State outgained them in the game, and NC State had 18 first downs to only 11 for Duke and lost by 21. That is hard to do. Books love NC State. I'm clearly on one about this team, too. I think this is a hammer spot at 330. Take the Wolfpack at -3, and let's cash. Going back to the gun here, Louisiana Lafayette at 5 o'clock, Sunbelt football at home, -14.5.
Yeah, we are going down the bayou to go have a little gumbo here. We got Arkansas State and Louisiana and Cajun Field. Lafayette, Louisiana, 5 p.m. is the kick on this one. And then, listen, we have a ULL team that is 7-1 on the year. They have a plus 11-point differential, plus 15 net, 115 net yard average, and they're going off against a Arkansas State team that is coming off back-to-back wins. They're now 5-3 on the year with a -7-point differential, -61 net yard average. But this ULL team is productive on the offensive side of the ball this year. 31.7 points per game on average. That is 31st in the country. They run the ball well at 5.2 yards per carry on average. That's 19th in the country. And they can pass the ball efficiently with a 68.2% pass completion rate. That's 12th in the country. 8.6 yards per attempt passing. That's 13th in the country. Offensively, this Louisiana team is loaded, and they're going against an Arkansas State defense that, well, not so great. 98th in the country in opposing points per game, giving up 31.4 points per game on average. 118th in opposing yards per game, 114th in opposing rush yards per carry, and 121st in the country in opposing rush yards per game. Most teams choose to run the ball versus Arkansas State, but their defense is also ranked 113th in pass completion percentage and 124th in opponent passing yards per play. So this defense is a leaking sieve for Arkansas State. On the offensive side, for Arkansas State, not great at all either. 94th in offensive scoring, 80th in offensive yards per play, 81st in third down conversion percentage, 55th in red zone scoring percentage. And, of course, I love revenge games. I've been cashing tickets left and right on these revenge spots, and we have another one here with ULL because guess what? They lost to Arkansas State last year, 37-17. At 7-point road favorites in 2023. Now you're seeing them sit here. I got it at 16.5 and it's dipped down so you can get some value at 14. So shop around for the line here, folks. Get it to 14 if you can. I just think this is a perfect spot here for Louisiana. I don't care if the line dropped. Arkansas State has consistently underperformed on the road this season. I think this is just going to continue versus a Louisiana team that is just humming along, leading the Sun Belt, and they will continue to blow out teams left and right. I don't see this being close whatsoever. Louisiana by margin, as Shark would say. Give me -14.5 as the play.
Yeah, I got a couple SEC totals I'm going to run through and see if Guns has any thoughts on these games because I have 4 consecutive officials, and I love these plays. So let's get into it. 7 o'clock, we're taking Tennessee at home versus Mississippi State over 61.5. You talk about a great buy low on a total. Tennessee is 0-5 versus the over last 5 and 0-5 versus the over in SEC play. And now you're seeing a line higher than all 5 of their previous conference games. So when you guys think about this statistically, a team is running a clean sheet on unders, and now all of a sudden the line is way higher than the previous ones. And you look at who they're facing here. This is Mississippi State, who was an absolute sieve on defense, 4-1 versus the over in conference, giving up 42.6 points per game. The last time Tennessee faced a defense like this, you actually have to go back out of conference schedule in September. They played Kent State, and they put up 71 points on Kent State. When Tennessee plays a sieve defense, they will score 50-plus in this game. And one final point on this, Tennessee plays at Georgia next week. So I do suspect Mississippi State will get some points in this game themselves. Tennessee has had a great defense in conference this year, but when they get a lead early, there's going to be a lot of points from Mississippi State in the second half. I think this game's going to get into the 70s with some ease. Guns, any thoughts on this game?
Over on this one. I think I was just looking at the numbers for them. So I mean, when we look at the home on this one for Tennessee, their highest over of the year was 62. That went over. 60 went over. This one's sitting at like around 61.5 currently. On the Mississippi State side, you could argue that yes, they are an under team on the road. But in those situations on the road, we have 58, 58.5, 53.5. This one's hitting at 61.5. So I don't think this is an under at any situation here. Mississippi State is an over team. They run a very high-powered offense. Of course, the coach Levy coming over from Oklahoma. Oklahoma likes to run that fast, high-paced offense, and you're starting to see it here with Mississippi State. They can definitely score, but they can't stop anybody. You know that team is really bad on the defensive side of the ball. So I think this is going to go back and forth. There's going to be scoring, and of course, Tennessee's probably going to do more of the scoring. But don't count out this Mississippi State team. They're able to get the offense humming on this one, and I think with the numbers sitting at where it is at home for Tennessee, it is giving me an indicator that this is an over or pass.
Yeah, without question. And actually, they're only Mississippi State's only under in conference was at Texas. They give up over 500 yards of offense. Texas just bottled them up. But as I said, with Tennessee looking ahead to Georgia, I don't think Tennessee's going to bring their A-list defense tomorrow. Love the over here. Staying in conference, another total going under. Big-time football here, ABC 7:30 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Alabama at LSU under 58.5. And when I started to look at this, I thought to myself, this looks like a pretty low total. What's going on here? Alabama is 2-1 versus the road under. In those unders, they are holding their opponents to 20 points per game. They did have one isolated over at Vanderbilt, but I think that was really just a one-off. They were coming off a game against Georgia the previous week, an absolute high, biggest win of the year. They just didn't bring their A game. I mean, they lost outright to Vandy as like 20-point favorites. So clearly that wasn't the Alabama we're going to get on a week-to-week basis. So just throw that out. This is a road under team. And LSU is actually 3-0 versus the home under versus FBS teams. So LSU plays a lot of defense at home at Tiger Stadium. And I think it's a great spot to buy defense, specifically because LSU is coming off a bye week. But go back 2 weeks ago, they gave up 38 points in a loss at Texas A&M. They gave up 31 points in the second half. So if you actually think Brian Kelly is not going to chirp the hell out of these guys for the last 2 weeks, this guy's one of the most tyrannical, cranky, annoying head coaches in the sport.
I hate him. I hate his guts.
You gave up 31 points in the second half at A&M in a loss, and now you have to sit around for 2 weeks and listen to this guy chirp you. They're going to come out with some A-list defense. And as I mentioned, Bama plays a lot of defense on the road. And just within this matchup, they do play on a yearly basis. So we are data abundant. Go back 2 years ago. Game actually did go over at LSU, 32-31 between Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels. Key point there, though, it went to overtime. The game was 24-24 in regulation. So that was an under played in Baton Rouge. Got lucky to go over in overtime. Last year, books actually liked the over. They moved the over total up to 60.5 in Tuscaloosa. Bama did win the game 42-28, almost 1,000 yards in the game. Again, key point, in Tuscaloosa, LSU defense not traveling well, and it was Jaden Daniels really kind of opening up the game against Bama. This is going to be the polar opposite, and the line agrees. 60.5 over last year, moved down at open to 57.5. I have this game to be graded at 54 points. Should be a great game. Guns, any thoughts on the side in this game? Obviously, really a marquee matchup here in the SEC.
Yeah, the side, I don't want anything to do with this one because it is, this is one of those other big games. What does Brian Kelly do in these type of games? He usually poops his pants, and that's it. You saw it last week versus A&M, a game that mattered, a game that had playoff implications on the line, and you just let them off the hook. And then you have to stew in this one. Bama's a big team. You got him in this. You got him in the swamp. You got him exactly where you want him, and it's going to be a night game. The total, you have the read perfectly on this one. When you actually talk about the overs on this one, I think 4 out of the 5 in the last 5 meetings have been over 60 as far as what the total was set at. This is under 60 here, folks. This is 58.5, 59s on the board that I'm seeing right now. And then you got to look at what LSU does at home. They hold their opponents to 19 points per game. They held Mississippi to 26 points. Mississippi's a high-powered offense. South Alabama's a high-powered offense. They held them to 10 points. This is a great defense here for LSU, and they play exceptionally well at home. I think this is a perfect spot. We can take that 38-point outlier, throw it out the window. If you actually just look at that defense up and down the board, they've played very good in a lot of these positions, and I think they do it here because the only way they're going to win this game is stopping Alabama's offense and keeping them off the field. I think Nussmeier can do that, and I think Brian Kelly's going to focus on time of possession. He's not going to try to wing it out here and score left and right on this one, because if you try to get in a shootout with Bama, chances are you're going to lose that game. I think this is going to be a defensive matchup here. I think it's going to be low scoring. It's going to sail under. I think it's going to be, this could be a 48 to 52 point type of game as far as the total is concerned. So, yeah, under is the only play I would do on this one.
Yeah, no, without question. I thought somewhere around maybe 27, 24, 25, 22, 24, 21, something like that. And this is just symptomatic to good coaching in a top conference. It's more like the NFL. You don't see these crazy games with 90 points like in the smaller conferences. It's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a great game at 7:30, and we like the under at 58.5. I have 2 official plays in the first half tomorrow. You guys know I love the first half. I love the splits, and as I always say, go to FanDuel to look for your splits. They have the sharpest numbers indicating where the strength lies. Taking Arizona State at home in Tempe, that is 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And this is a good split. 1.5 first half on 2.5 game. That is 60% of the line. And you look at Arizona State. Very good home team in the first half. 3-1 ATS. Only non-cover came against Kansas. They were tied at the half. They missed the field goal, and they had a plus territory fumble. They very easily could have covered that. And this is a great spot to sell UCF first half on the road. UCF is 1-2 ATS first half road. Took a blowout at TCU and another blowout at Florida. And what the situation is with UCF, which makes it even better, they're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback in his first true road game. It doesn't get much worse than this for a kid. And he's also coming off of a blowout home first half last week against Arizona. Last week, UCF lit up Arizona in the first half, 35-6. Now, this kid, Dylan Risk, going on the road to a great home team in Tempe. This is where it will reverse. And 2 weeks ago, as an underdog, he did take a 24-10 loss in the first half at home to BYU. This is not a great first half quarterback, not a great first half team. Last week, they caught a bad Arizona team traveling to Florida that is completely outlierish. You want to sell it at the highest order. That's why sharp books have the split on Arizona State and love this first half. Guns, any thoughts?
Yeah, I like that look. I might be actually adding that to my card because I was just looking at the numbers here. With the first half at home for Arizona State, you hit the nail on the head. Wyoming 27-0, Mississippi State 27-3. Kansas, you said that tied at halftime, missed field goal. Utah, they 13-9. So yes, this is a first half team, and you look at the other side of the spectrum there. With UCF at TCU, they were down 14 at the end of the first half. Florida, they were down 24-3. Iowa State is probably the only one that they had the lead on. They ended up losing that game outright, but they were up 7 at halftime. So yeah, you caught Arizona in a bad spot. They were up 35-6 in the first half, but that was in the bounce house. The bounce house is where they play their best ball. This team regresses on the road. They have a -4 point differential on the road and a -49 net yard average in comparison to having a +14 point differential and a +181 net yard average at home. So this is a team that, yes, they're complete polar opposites on the road versus home. Same thing with Arizona State on this one. I think you have the right look on this one, Shark. First half is the way to go.
Without question. And I think it gets even better. 8 o'clock in Pittsburgh, Acrisure Stadium, of course, where the Steelers play on Sunday. Well, the Pittsburgh Panthers play there on Saturday, and we're taking the first half here at -4.5. Again, looking at FanDuel splits, FanDuel has the first half in this game graded at 5.5 on a 7.5. That is 73.3%. You never see anything heavier than that. We've bought this line split a few times this year. It is cashed every single time. And this truly is a really good spot for Pitt. Pitt is 3-0 ATS first half at home versus FBS big conference schools. And they're coming off of a terrible first half on the road last week at SMU, getting slaughtered 31-3. So see what we're doing here? We're fading UCF off a 35-6 blowout win, and we're buying Pitt off a 31-3 blowout loss. And Pitt has been terrible on the road in the first half in these environments, actually going 0-3 ATS first half road. Off their previous 2 tanks on the road, they have come out hot and gone 2-0 ATS, where Pitt will come out and smack this team. And Virginia on the road has been poor. They did cover a game at Coastal Carolina. Let that be what it is. Did cover at Clemson. Clemson made some mistakes at noon. Klubnik just being Klubnik, making some Klubnik-ish mistakes. And didn't cover at Wake earlier. Heavy line, great spot. It's just the situational zigzag, buy low, home to road, road to home in this sport. We are privy to information here in Week 11. It's one of the beautiful things about college football. Maybe not so beautiful sometimes. You only really get a lot of information for like 6 weeks in the season. We are in it now. We know how these teams perform. It's really a great spot. Guns, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we got to unload the clip. That's what I've been doing with college football lately. I'm feeling it when you got the data and everything. But this game with Virginia, 3 straight losses in a row. If you want a comparison on this one, they both played North Carolina, and at the half in their last game versus North Carolina, Virginia was down 24-6. And then, with Pitt, they were tied at halftime. So, and that was on the road. So this is a team that plays a lot better at home. You saw it when they played Syracuse, 31-0 in the first half. Granted, there was a lot of turnovers in that. So take that with a grain of salt. But California, 17-9. Youngstown State, they were 42-10 at the half. West Virginia, they were tied. But that's a rivalry game. You got to take that with a little bit of grain of salt in there. Of course, Kent State, 28-14. This is a first half team at home. This is where they step up, and they're coming off a loss, the first loss of the season. I think Narduzzi is a great coach. He's a guy that can fire up his team. They're playing in Heinz Field. I don't even know if they call it Heinz Field anymore. I can't remember the name of it. Acrisure. There we go. So yeah, I think this is going to be a time where we don't take them full game on this one. We take them in the first half because this team is bouncing off the loss, licking their wounds, and they're going to come out here and smack a Virginia team that is off 3 straight losses in a row and regressing. And don't forget, Virginia has a big game next week. 3 out of the last 4 games of the season are going to be on the road, and then they got to face Notre Dame next week. So what take it for what it is. I think it's Pitt first half or pass.
It has to be. When FanDuel has 73.3%, that is historical
huge
heaviness.
That's Ole Miss, that line that you took in the first half. Same thing. Same type
on the road.
Yes.
On the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly. And that's where, as we give you guys the official plays, we also are trying to give you guys the information so you know what to look at yourselves. Look at the first half splits and look for the ones where it's really heavy proportional to the game. So a lot going
60%
on.
60% or plus is the weight. That's
60%. And when you see 70+%, just
it's
pounce.
huge. It's smash it.
Absolutely. 45 minutes plus in the books. We apologize for the broadcast issues on X. We wish we had it right. We will probably try to stream this later on separately because I know people on X want to watch this and not everybody's coming over YouTube. But 46 minutes in the books, a pleasure with the gun. A lot of top plays. Week 11 knowledge for college. Cincinnati -3.5, -4.5. A collaboration official. Ole Miss +3 for me. Ole Miss first half money line for the gun. I have UConn -7. NC State -3 revenge against Duke. Over in Tennessee, 61.5 versus Mississippi State. Under in Baton Rouge, LSU versus Bama, 58.5. ASU first half -1.5. It, as just discussed, Pitt first half -4.5. The gun, ULM +8.5. San Jose State +3.5. Ole Miss first half, as I already said. Louisiana -14.5. And the late night special tonight, 9 o'clock on this Friday, Rice +7.5. We appreciate you guys immensely tuning in for Week 11, Knowledge for College. We will be back Sunday morning for a big NFL card. We're getting more information. We pounce when we have information. Exciting times, and we really appreciate you guys so much. Have a beautiful evening. Have a great Saturday. Sending you guys all the best vibes through the screen. GunzPicks, a pleasure as always. Close them out with some words, and let's dominate.
Yeah, even Justin says, I'm going to rewatch in the morning. I'm high. I get it, man. I get it. There's a lot of information to take in, especially when you're enjoying some treats, as they say. But we got Peter Grazia joining us. I'm tailing you guys. Thank you. No problem. That is what this show is for. And please like and subscribe to all of our channels, the Shark Wars Nation channel and the GunzPicks channel on YouTube. And also check us out on X at GunzPicks and Shark in Sports 88. And like Shark says, we'll do a re-show. I'll set it up probably around 9 a.m. tomorrow on the East Coast if you want to watch it on X. I will have that posted up on my Twitter at GunzPicks. So that's going to do it here for the Knowledge for College show. Make sure you join us on Sunday for the Extra Point show with the crew. And at 10 a.m., actually 10:30 a.m. On the East Coast. Go check us out for that. But that's going to do it here for Knowledge for College. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have a damn Saturday, shall we? Let's dominate the bowl. And as always, let's keep dancing. Yeah, bye.